When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Welcome to The Pivot. Lloyd Freeman, he is the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for Buchanan Ingersoll and Rooney. Today, we are talking about balance. How do you keep it all together? How do you keep it all together? They talk about work-life balance, but is there really? I don't know, but my next guest definitely does. Thank you for watching The Pivot with Stephanie Humphrey. I'm so happy that you are all here. And today we are talking about balance. Can we really do it all? Can we have it all? I don't know. But again, we're going to talk to my guest and see what he has to say. I want to introduce my dear friend, Lloyd Freeman. He is the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for Buchanan Ingersoll and Rooney. Lloyd, thank you so much for being on The Pivot today.
Thank you for having me. This is great. I'm excited.
I know. So let's just get right into this conversation. So first of all, tell the people, and take your time because I know it's a lot.
Oh boy.
Tell the people all the things you do. Just kind of, all of the things that you're involved in, because it is a lot between your work things, your family things, your philanthropic things, your charitable, your organizational things, your social things. You got a lot going on. So just give us a little taste of the life of Lloyd Freeman.
So you have to have many dimensions, right? Because that's what's going to keep this life thing interesting. You can't be someone who does all work. You can't be someone who does all play because then you don't get paid. So, and you also have to do something that gives back so you can feel like, you're a good citizen. And so I do try to make sure that I'm doing all the things. So professionally, I'm a bit of a recovering attorney. I practiced law for about 14 years. I was a litigator, a partner in a large law firm, and decided that I was going to make that pivot into diversity and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do now. In my role as Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, I still work at a law firm, but I'm a part of the management team. And so that allows me to then work on more of the strategic side for the firm, setting strategy, setting policy, and direction for the future of the firm and how we can make sure we increase representation of everyone who falls into those underrepresented categories, whether it's your person of color, individual who identifies as LGBT, the list goes on. That's work. Sometimes, though,
and that would be enough. However,
yes, but that wouldn't make me complete. I'll tell you that it wouldn't make me complete because I know that I am more than just, Lloyd the attorney or now, Lloyd the D&I executive. That's not all that I bring to the table. And so as you will see, as I get into kind of those other dimensions, I do try to steer clear from doing things in my I guess extracurricular, if I can still use that term, that really mirror exactly what it is that I do for a living. So for instance, the board memberships, people will, as you are a lawyer and you join boards, people will say, oh my gosh, you should be over our bylaws and you should be on our governance committee. And I'm like, put me on PR, put me on fundraising. I want to do something fun over here. I can do that over there and charge you, but I can do this over here and feel like I'm giving back. My philosophy around the nonprofit and charitable stuff is it has to be something that you are passionate about.
Yes.
And I say that because, listen, it is a lot of time. I mean, it's your time and your treasure. Yeah. And so, you don't want to give of either of those because they're both very precious unless it is something that is near and dear to you. And so I really, for a number of years, I was active with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I became chairman of the board. I actually served in that role twice. I don't know how I get strong-armed into these things, Steph, but
we got roped into hosting a Big Brother Big Sister event once. Remember?
That's right. Okay, that was during my first tour as board chair. During my first tour, and really because Big Brothers, the aim of Big Brothers Big Sisters is to ensure that young people have a mentor. And so they match individuals, one-to-one mentoring, so to change their lives for the better forever.
Yes.
That really resonated with me because growing up, I did not have a mentor. There were not professionals who, outside who were not related to me. And there really weren't that many in my family, to be very honest, who could really guide me on the path that I knew that I wanted to go on. And so, I thought it not robbery. Not only do I want to give of my time, but I want to make sure the people in my network understand the importance of this.
Right.
I would love if you did it through Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but if you don't, find that pocket and mentor. That was certainly a huge passion project of mine. And so I served on that board for 10 years, served as board chair twice. Yes, 10 years, board chair twice. We really grew the organization. But you have to, well, number one, I had a term limit, so I had to get off the board. They kicked me off. But outside of that, I wanted to, again, to just make another pivot. And I'm always about the reinventing of yourself because it can't get, so routine. It also can't become work. Because you don't want to go to work and then go to work.
That's true.
And then it just can't become so predictable. And I just felt like people were starting to predict kind of like what it is that I was doing next. I was predicting, okay, well, this is the logical next step. And so I said, what else is it that I'm interested in as I hit my term limit? And so now I've taken a pivot into the arts. And so the Philadelphia Ballet, I'm a new board member with the ballet, have always been, patron of the arts. Our daughter is named Ailey after the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. That side note, that's where my wife and I went on our first fancy date. Down in DC, went to go see the Ailey dancers. So it holds a special place in my heart. And I definitely want to make sure, if I could fuse the two, how can I then make sure that more people who look like me have a greater appreciation, for the fine and performing arts? How can I make sure that we have more representation on stage? I would love for my daughter, when I take her to go see, the Nutcracker for the Sugar Plum Fairy, to look like her, and it's more than just kind of saying, oh, I saw one Black ballerina one time, and it is commonplace. You can see people who look like you all the time. And so, yes, I can absolutely bring, some of my expertise in with something that's a passion project. And that's where I lend my time. Those are kind of like I feel like you have to do something that's above board and major, and people know about it irrespective of where you go. And then there's the one that like tugs on my heartstrings, and it's the one that I invented, if you will, my Botillion program. And so the Botillion program is a scholarship and mentoring program that works to train high school, junior and senior males for college and subsequent life. Essentially, we're getting them ready for that next chapter after they graduate from high school. We do that through a number of different workshops, whether it's on personal branding, how you've come in for a number of times and done that, public speaking, how to manage your finances, how to act at a dinner table. Really, again, all those things outside of what, you will learn in school, that really is preparing you for how to be an adult, how to be a Black man in America. And we have frank conversations about that as well. And then, at the end of it, we give scholarships, but I never really go off and start talking so much about the dollars that we've given those young men. It's really about the fact that we are equipping them with a mentor who can really guide them. Again, you kind of see how the pieces all come together. A mentor who can guide them, who looks like them, so they have a Black man with a degree in their back pocket as they go off the first day in college.
I didn't realize you created that. I thought that was something that was a part of what you did for your fraternity, because you do that as well. You can speak to that.
I brought it to the fraternity.
Okay.
So yes. So then if you look for the inspiration behind that, I was an escort to a good friend of mine. I was her escort to the debutante ball when we were in high school. And I just thought that it was like the most fantastic thing ever. All these Black people in these like tuxes and gowns and like all dressed up. We're having this formal meal at this nice hotel. But the program was centered around young women. It was centered around the high school, young ladies, and preparing them for, life as a Black woman in America. Now, we were there, kind of as their dancing partners. And I think they may have given us like one workshop, just so they can feel like they did something with us. But the focus was on the women. And of course, as I, matriculated, whether it was through undergrad, and I went to Howard, where it was like 9-to-1 women to men. So, not that we don't have work to do by way of inspiring more women of color to go to college, but we got a lot more work to do with getting men of color to get into college. And so I wanted to make sure that I was doing my part in that regard, because although, the Lloyd from high school ended up doing all right for himself, imagine if he had, a Lloyd as a mentor. someone who could help him when he was figuring out law school and saying, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know which job to accept. I don't know what kind of law to practice or any of that. So yeah, that's where that came from. But yeah, I brought it to the fraternity, and it just kind of exploded, and we started our own foundation and put that whole program together. So many different things, Stephanie. So many different things.
And you have a family. Talk about
a family. Do have a family. My wife.
Beautiful family.
Kids. Yes, there's somewhere behind me back there. But you know what? The family piece is, you talk about, can you have it all? I feel like, you can wear a number of different hats, but you got to remember that it's not kind of, you got to remember which hat is the biggest hat. Mm-hmm. And my family, that's the first hat. That is the primary hat. Right. And so the thing about how involved I am, they're family decisions. They're not Lloyd's decision and the family deals with it. These are very much so family decisions. So I look at what are the ways in which I'm going to be able to bring my family into what it is that I do. So My wife and I both love, fine and performing arts. So that's going to be something that we'll be able to enjoy together. That sounds like, an instant, outing for us to be able to go to the ballet. I'm supporting my nonprofit. We're going out and having a good time. I love to bring my daughter to go and see Cinderella, things like that you can kind of fuse all of them together. The Botillion. My wife then works with the young ladies who are a part of the Botillion program, the dates to the young men. And she gives them hosts a tea party for them and does all of that. My daughter is very much so going to the workshops, back when we were in person, of course. And so it's a family affair. There is not a way that I could do all of the things without having that family support. And I think that the way to make that easy is to bring everybody right on in. And I do that even with my brand. I know that's not even really, kind of the topic of our talk, but, my brand, really, I'm shaping it such that the Lloyd you will see at work is the Lloyd that you will see outside of work, i.e. you will see the family pictures in my office. You will see a huge Alvin Ailey poster, of a dancer in my office. I have each one of you can probably even see them right here. I have each one of the years of the Botillion classes, the guys in their tuxedos, in my office. Everything about who I am, I bring it all together. It
all crosses over. So it's all sort of not cross promotional, but you know what I mean? Like it all sort of infuses itself together because, I love that idea that you make these decisions as a family and it needs to work for everybody in order for it to work at all. Because, when it doesn't work, it can have some really damaging consequences.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I was thinking about, I always try to tell kind of like a little story, a personal story when I do each of these, just so people can get to know Tech Life Steph a little bit. And I can remember, I told this story and I tell this story and I have told this story over and over and over like a badge of honor in the past. So when I was working at Lockheed, when I was still an engineer full time, I started working at QVC as a model, and it wasn't full time, but it felt like a full time job. And it was easily another 20 hours a week, on top of the 40, 45 I was already working. And at the time I had a 2 a.m. role. I called it my 2 a.m. rule. So QVC is a 24-hour network. It's live television, 24 hours a day, every single day except Christmas Day.
And they had you on the graveyard shift.
Yeah. And especially when you start out out there, working as a model or on the floor as a producer anywhere, they start you out at night, because if you're going to mess up, you're going to mess up at 2:30 and not at prime time. So, when I first started there, I was there at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever. And my 2 a.m. rule was if I got done at 2 a.m. or earlier, so 2 a.m., 1 a.m., midnight, 11 o'clock, if I got done anytime before 2 a.m., I would go home, sleep a little bit, go to work late, maybe at 10 or 11, and then stay late till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. If I got done at 2 a.m. or later, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I went straight to work, and I would sit there in that cubicle by myself, with nobody else there. And I would leave a little bit early, but I would go straight to work and just sit there. And so literally, once I started getting, more popular at QVC, I really legit was working 24 hours a day, it felt like. And it took a toll on my health. I remember that time as me always being sick, me always having a sinus infection. I lost a ton of weight, which wasn't a good thing necessarily when you work in a image-based industry, because everybody thought I looked amazing. Meanwhile, I'm only getting, 1,000 calories a day or something. And I thought about it when I was prepping for this interview. I thought about that story, and I thought about the fact that I used to tell it, like I said, as a badge of honor, or as an indication of the grind you have to go through to get what you want and all the rest of that stuff. And in looking back on it, I was like, I really just didn't have any balance in my life. I was literally working all the time. I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't going out. I wasn't dating. I didn't have a boyfriend. Like, everything was just work, and see where this goes. So that's a lesson. I think that's a lesson to all of y'all out there. Don't get so consumed by the vision. You get excited about that vision, especially when you're making this big transition in your life, and this is something you really want to do. You get very excited about that, but you do need to maintain that balance at the end of the day.
And you know what? I think a lot of it, really good points that you made there. A lot of it, I know, is shaped by some of those antiquated views of success. We've seen the Wall Street bankers, and what's typical of being on Wall Street. That you have the phone, and it's tied to you, and you can't even enjoy Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you have to live across the street so you can just run home, take a shower, and come right back. Or or even the lawyers at the big law firms. Like, it's very characteristic of you're staying up all night, you're addicted to Diet Coke, and you're sitting there. I mean, those are kind of like the model images, and it even trickles into that family life. So then you talk about that badge of honor. I know that, if you look at kind of the generation before me, you had, some women who would say, oh, yeah, I had a baby, but, I only took those first 6 weeks or whatever. And when the doctor said I was clear, I went back to work. And they say it as if you're going to get some kudos. That's not a good thing. You should have taken time for the family. And then you have guys who say, no, I didn't take any time off at all because I'm not supposed to. We had the baby.
I didn't have the baby. Yeah.
We went home. I drove them home, and then I went back to work, by Thursday. And I fell victim to that. So 2016 was probably my busiest year ever. That was when we had my daughter, Ailey. I had gotten inducted into the Boulay. My wife had gotten into the Lynx. I was going up for partner in that same year. I mean, everything was just happening. And we did have our daughter on a Tuesday, and I took the rest of the week off, and I was back to work on Monday. Now,
that's crazy.
We flew the family in, we had each of our moms come in and do a month at a time. And then we did the grandmoms, and, we had the help, we had the people there. But to think that making partner and understanding that I needed to have a presence in the office, by the next business week, was more important than just taking
than your child.
That's
it's crazy.
Ridiculous. So lessons learned. By the time we had my son, I was like, oh, I'm doing a full parental leave. I was gone for 12 weeks.
That's right. As you should be. That's right.
Took 3 months.
That's absolutely right. And it's so crazy that we don't allow ourselves. And don't get me wrong, bills got to be paid. We all understand that. But if it's possible for you to not have to be this slave to this employment or to this job, because it doesn't define you.
Right.
Take the time, take the PTO, as they say, take the PTO. Absolutely.
Take the PTO, go on the trip, book the next trip, have the next trip ready and waiting so you have something to look forward to. I mean, those are the ways that, again, you're going to make sure you have you're happy. And to your point, you're not happy when you're gaining weight. You're not happy when you're losing weight. You're not happy when you're stressed out. Yeah,
that's
you gotta
right.
Be happy.
So now you spoke to it a little bit about the fact that you bring the family in on decisions, but talk to us a little bit more about the work of maintaining balance. Cause I feel like there are some logistical, real things that have to happen in order for this, I think it feels like it's maybe a little bit more than just like, let me make sure my wife's okay with this, or let me make sure the kids are good. What does the work of maintaining balance look like for you?
Having some things that are off limits. Having some things that are absolutely off limits. And so what were those things? So even though, like I was in private practice, I was an attorney at a law firm, and you think kind of 7 days a week, church was a non-negotiable. Like I was going to go to church, and we were likely, because, we Black and we go to Black church, and we were going to go to brunch after, after church.
Well, I'm not available until later.
Exactly right. And so, yes, I can do some hours on Sunday, but it's going to be somewhere like after like 4:00, and that's when you'll see me. And then also the holidays and the vacations. We actually started to, again, put those two together because we were finding ourselves on the holidays stressing ourselves out because my wife's family is from Detroit, mine is from Kansas City, and we were trying to see everybody and make sure that we had a presence. And we were like, wait, what's going to make us happy? Is it now? Yes, we would love to see our family, but we can open our house up to our family any time of the year, and we can take our family and go do Thanksgiving in Turks and Caicos or Christmas in Antigua. And those trips, those things like that became the non-negotiables. We are going to have our time. And when we do it, we're going to do it up. When we do it, we're going to do the week in Martha's Vineyard. When we do it, we're going to do the Christmas, on an island. Or now we take the kids to Disney World. We did Disney World for Christmas last year. Those big moments, because you got to understand, of course, in being a busy parent and being a busy husband, busy wife, busy spouse, there are going to be some nights, when you're not going to be there for dinner. But it can't be every night, right? It cannot be every night. And it certainly can't trickle into I'm missing, birthday party. So you know what, for me, strangest thing, Stephanie, doctor's appointments. I do not want to be that parent who has no clue what is going on with their child's health, what you're allergic to, what's the last that you wait. I write it down in my phone every time. I do not miss a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment. There's something about that.
And I don't think that's unreasonable. Honestly, this is your child. This is a whole human that you're responsible to get to adulthood as safely and healthy as possible. Like, why wouldn't you be involved with something like that?
And you should have seen the freak out because, of course, once, COVID hit, they were only allowing one parent to go in. And I was looking at my wife like, so, I guess you're going to stay home because I don't miss doctor's appointments. She was like, simmer down, simmer down.
That's what we're not going to do.
What we're not going to do is put me in the back seat.
Right.
So yeah, I had to end up turning that down a bit. But literally, until I was forced out of the doctor's office, no, those were non-negotiables. Anytime that there are parent days at the school. So when they have Read Across America week and the parents come in and they read to the class, I am not too busy to do that. Now, listen, Stephanie, I will be like, I was like negotiating a settlement up until the moment.
Until you had to crack that cover open.
Hey, let me give you guys a call back in 15 minutes. Crack open Dr. Seuss and, read the book. I was going to be there. There was no way my daughter was not going to have her dad come, for the Father's Day ice cream social or for the day that you read to the class. And again, I think that's important because these are, of course, the visuals and the values that I want my daughter to see and believe. Not only that, it's important for your parents, but it's important for your dad to be there, to be a part of those things, for your friends to see your dad. And yeah, dad is I know that some other parents may be able to just, not work and have a life of leisure. Dad's going to have to come in a full suit to the daycare, and we're just going to make it work.
That's right. I might have to head out right after, but I was here. The point is,
you head out right after.
And that's what, and I think that's what counts, and that's what matters the most. What is your strategy for saying no? Because sometimes it just ain't going to work. and something is going to have to, you can't be in two places at one time at the end of the day. So what is your strategy for turning some things down when necessary?
That is the $1 million question. And I'm gonna fast forward to the end and I'm gonna back you into it. So I had to force myself. I had to literally have a year of no. And I think that was, if it wasn't the end of that 2016 year, then it was the year after that. Yes, it was the year of no. It was no. I cannot volunteer to, help you all out with it. I am so sorry. Nope, I cannot join this particular board. I love the organization. I'll send you a nice little donation. I don't have the capacity to do anything else. And it was just, even some of the things that I really wanted to do, it was just, I knew for the purposes of that balance, you are, homeboy, you are at capacity. You need to turn everything down. But then it allowed you to then see, what was out there, because every opportunity that's going to come around, I mean, you're going to get another one, or you're going to get a similar one. It's going to come back around. That's not going to be the only board that ever asked you, or the only place that ever asked you to come and do a keynote speech or something like that. So I had to force myself. There was a point in time, particularly when I was very, very young in my career, when I was just starting to make a name for myself and wanting to go out there and find the clients, I was saying yes to everything because I didn't know what was going to stick. And again, this is without having the mentor, right? So, I'm trying to navigate this and do this on my own without running it by, somebody, an old wise one who could tell me like, that ain't really the way that you operate. So, I'm any particular board or any, volunteer effort or any networking event, I wanted to go to all of them. And it was, 4 or 5 days a week. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was costly. Yeah. It was all of those things. And it's not
sustainable. That's the thing, that that's very much the mindset when you're trying to get into television. Because my first time on TV, it was like, woo, this is what I really want to do. And said yes to everything, was always available, was always ready to get up at 2:30 in the morning, was always ready to get a call at 6 p.m. the night before to be on air at 7:30 a.m. the next day in New York, 2 hours away, and just grinding it out like that because you feel like if I don't do it, they won't ever call me back. Right. And the thing about it is they will always call you back. They will call you back. If you're good, I'll put it that way. If you're good and if you've already demonstrated your talent, they will always call you back. And at some point, you have to make a decision about whether or not this is something you want to keep doing. If this is something you say you want to keep doing, for me personally, I had to make a decision to say, well, this is not actually serving me anymore. At the beginning, you do got to do a little something here and there.
You do. And you got the energy because you're young.
Reel. Exactly. You're young. You got the energy. I need stuff for my reel. I gotta put my face into place and all the rest of that stuff. But there comes a time when you have to say, is this still serving me? And, it took me probably longer than it should have to get to that point. But I am at that point now. And when I tell you a whole new world has opened up to, when I made room for it, basically, and was able to finally say no and understand, your value and your worth and all that good stuff. It's been a whole new world that's opened up with all different kinds of opportunities. So, saying no is not a bad thing.
It's not at all. You have that point in the decision making process when you look at the quantity versus the quality. And, just because I do 10 of these engagements, that does not equal what I could have gotten just from doing this one, doing it very, very well. I mean, that could have paid the exact same dividends. But again, it's once you are comfortable enough, once you feel, secure enough that, okay, I can turn down 9 to take this one. But that's the one. That's the one.
Because that's the one. That's right. That's absolutely right.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now
We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
So, final question, how do you deal with any of the negative feelings that may come up when stuff slips through the cracks? So whether it's either the FOMO of fear of missing out, of not being able to take advantage of an opportunity because maybe you have a sick kid, or the guilt as a parent for not being able to be there for your kid because there was just some other obligation that you could not turn down. How do you manage those negative feelings?
Yeah. So the FOMO was real with me. That is whether it is my friends are all getting together, or there was a trip that, a ski trip everybody was taking and I couldn't make it because I had something else, or whether it is something's going on with the kid. The FOMO piece, the family, we kind of got over it together. And that was only because, we had two working parents. And just as we spent, the hours at work, the kids spent the hours at daycare and with their teachers, et cetera. It's thank God, of course, technology allows, for, oh my gosh, like your daughter is like starting to crawl and, they're recording it and we're seeing it. But yeah, I mean, like you have those instant moments, like, so she started to crawl when she was with y'all. We were with her all weekend, 24 hours a day. And she didn't want to do nothing but sleep. And then she's going to start crawling with you all. So, daycare kind of forced us out of the FOMO piece. Just because, it was going to happen. It happened and it was going to continue to happen. There were going to be words. And then we were like, wait a minute. That's what we're paying you all for. We want you all to help them with this development. So you got to rationalize it a bit. It doesn't stop, the psychological piece in saying, I am bummed out, that I missed out on that. So yeah, that's hard. There were definitely the friend pieces and the trips and the, especially as, I decided to go down this road and have, the family and have the kids and, the job, and I wanted to go for partner. And then, I had friends who hadn't made those same life decisions. So it was, it looked like social media is the problem. That's the reason for the FOMO. Because you're looking at the pictures and you're like, wait a minute,
I know.
You on another trip and I ain't going nowhere
and you
yet.
didn't invite me. Like, what's going on with that?
You didn't invite me. And you got the nerve to like send me these. I'm not liking them. I'm not going to like no pictures.
I'm not liking none of them. I'm going to keep scrolling. That's how I handle it. I just keep scrolling. Forget you.
Yeah, that's it. But then, when you sit down and you take inventory, again, like you said, the things that mean the most to me, the things that are, really fulfilling me, satisfying me. And you say, no, it is my kids. It is, my career. I am very much so invested in the work that I do. It is my nonprofit. It is the young men that I mentor. Those are the things that make me happy. And what you forget is there are people who are looking at your Instagram and seeing, oh my gosh, here's me and my mentee, who just got accepted to Howard and, we're having a barbecue for them, but they're having FOMO like, oh, I wish I mentored a kid. I wish I, spent that much time. So, the grass is always greener. And you gotta talk to yourself. You gotta have a woosah because instantly you will have those moments. But again, you kind of look around, take that inventory over and over again. What makes me happy? And I have no problem with a purge at the end of the year. If I say, what, this year I spent so much time over here doing this, it was nothing but a headache. And next year I want to do more traveling. That's fine. Right. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with cutting something out. I mean, as long, you can bow out gracefully. It was a wonderful time, great experience. I've done my time.
There you go. And, I've also found, especially as it relates to like, the FOMO thing and thinking that you're missing out and you're not doing enough and you should be over here, but you want to be over here. Like doing sort of I call it sort of a gratitude exercise, even if, whether I write it in my journal or if I just tick through my head, like all the things that, well, I did this and I was able to do that and I was able to do that and I was able to do, and we got this done and and you think of all those little things that, throughout the year or just over the last few months or even just in the last week that made you happy, that made you proud of yourself, that, all of those different things. I think keeping the priority a priority, basically, because that's the thing. When you start having those feelings, I think it's just because you lose focus of what is really important to you and to your business and to your pivot and everything else. So
all of it.
Yeah,
all
definitely.
of it. And I think that's the answer. That's a very succinct answer to your question. The ribbon there says, can we really do it all? The answer is yes, if it all makes you happy.
That's true.
If it all makes you happy. The moment that you are not happy, no, then you cannot and you should not do all of it. Cut some of it out.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Now, and granted, folks, there are any number of time management apps you can use and to-do lists and apps that kind of keep you on track and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think it really is a decision about what is important to you and prioritizing, whether it be family, whether it be your health, whether it be your career, prioritizing those things, making a decision about what's important to you and getting some support. And I believe that is the big piece too. When you start feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling that you don't have balance, it's typically because you don't have a ton of support. So look for that support wherever you can get it. I pray that everybody has somebody or some way to be supported and feel supported in their journey, especially as you're pivoting, because it can be very, very isolating when you're trying something new and you're starting something different and doing something you've never done before. It can be very, very isolating. So get some support wherever that might be, even if it's, you might need a therapist or, talk to pastor or
all of those things are okay.
Right. Whatever you need to do. Absolutely. But definitely just keep in mind what your priorities are. And I think the balance sort of flows from that. I really think it can anyway.
That's very true. We do it in other facets, right? We do it with our money. I mean, there are the things that we know for a fact, that we have to spend our money on, and the things that when we have our leftover, the discretionary money, okay, these are the other pockets that I want to spend my money on. Same thing with your time. You got to go to work. So check. That's going to take this number of boxes. But, is this the career that I want long term? If not, okay, I may have to stay up till 2 a.m. on QVC, because that's what I want to do. Or, I want to be published. So I'm going to have to work on, the pieces that I am writing. So I'm going to have to give a little bit more of my time in that regard. I want to be a great father, a great husband. So I'm going to have to make sure that there's family time. You got to do the exact same. Your money cannot be more important than and the people in your life.
That's right. That's a great analogy and a great way to wrap up the show. Lloyd Freeman, thank you so much. I'm going to throw all of your contact info down at the bottom so you can follow Lloyd on Twitter and Instagram at Esquire1911, and on LinkedIn, just search Lloyd Freeman ESQ.
That's me.
I gotta put my pinky up when I say that. Lloyd, thank you again so much for being with us today on The Pivot.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.